so I can be free. I take the weight on my shoulders. I feel the sky come down on me, and I can't hold it much longer. Gotta let go so I can be free.
FT Live on a Wednesday, and I just want to let everyone know that we are streaming every single day on YouTube, if you're listening on the podcast, for example, for free. It's been a lot of texts going out there. Hey, here's the show. And they're like, oh, how much is it? I'm like, no, subscribe is free.
Yeah, but normally
YouTube.
Subscribe means you have to pay. Like if I subscribe to a newspaper or subscribe to a magazine, you get the month free, and then you got to pay, like, and they secretly charge you, like, even though it says you're not charged, and they secretly renew your credit card. But this is not like that.
No, nothing we're doing costs money for the people.
You eating all the food and staying in my house costs me money. That's okay.
But you're on the show. For the fans, Kratzy, YouTube, Twitch, Apple, Spotify, the whole thing. I said the other day, I'm like, I'm not going to do the shameless plugs, but I feel like I have to for everyone because it's free 99 no matter where you're looking for it.
It's confusing. The subscribe, I think AJ's a trendsetter. I think you're a trendsetter. I just follow the trends. We got to come up with a new word for YouTube than subscribe.
What's your word?
Well, I don't know. I mean, my uncreative mind is thinking join or welcome aboard. I don't know. Like boarding, something that's not, because you can't use follow. Follow's for other stuff.
Yes. How about free, something free in it so people know that it's free? I feel like that always plays.
Subscribe for free?
Free scribe.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Too many words.
Yep.
All right, well, we're Monday through Friday during spring training, 11 o'clock Eastern time in the morning. And if you go back 12 hours, AJ Pierzynski was awake. Yes, breaking news. I look on my phone when the World Baseball Classic gets underway, and Kratzy, AJ's like, I'm up. Let's go.
What happened? Did you have a late night last night?
What happened?
Surprise. I did. Now I'm feeling it. As Kratz said on Twitter, I'm going to be grumpier than normal today. Honestly, you know what happened was I went to dinner last night with some friends that were in town, and I got home at like 10:30, and I was like, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to stay up and watch at least the beginning of Cuba, Netherlands. Also, I just wanted to prove a point to you two that I'm not as old and as tired as you guys think I am. So I just did that more as a point prover, and I watched the first 3 innings, and then I was lights out.
We had highlights in the morning, so but I'm proud of you, and we'll get to WBC in just a sec. Also, Corbin Burnes joining the show today in about 20 minutes. The Milwaukee Brewers ace, Mr. Cy Young from a couple years ago, and Mandy Bell joining us with all things Cleveland Guardians, and happy International Women's Day. Shout out to all the amazing women in our lives in the world that make the world go round.
Yeah, I couldn't do it without the women in my life.
No.
For sure.
I know
wife,
I'm here.
Mom,
yes,
daughter sometimes, although, she's challenging at times. That's okay. That's okay. 17-year-old teenage girls are a little challenging. But,
can't live without her, though.
No, of course not.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to miss her when she leaves. But, yeah, thank you for all the help and everything that every woman in my life and has done for me and helped me along the way. So thank you, and have a great day.
Yes, same here. Fam, mom, sisters, girlfriend / set designer did an amazing job. All of those behind the scenes working with us as well. Claudia, Gab, etc. Kratzy, you go.
Well, I mean, yesterday my buddy said, he goes, well, isn't every day International Women's Day? And I said, and my son was there, and he's like, Dad, what do you think about that? Kind of trying to be a fire starter and get me in trouble or something. And it was a solid teaching moment. I said, look, if the women in your life aren't the most important thing in your life, you're around the wrong women. My daughter, my wife, my mom, I can argue with all of them, absolutely. But if they're not the most important thing in your life, man, you're grinding. And I'm super thankful. I even have an awesome mother-in-law. A lot of guys don't have that. So, I think there's something to be said, and I appreciate everything that they do and all that they're about.
Well said.
Wait, Kratz, how far away from you does your mother-in-law live?
How far away from me what?
Does your mother-in-law live?
Now 4 hours, but we used to live together for 5 years.
Oh, my mother-in-law lives a mile down the street. She's great, but there are times where I'm like, hey, Mimi, let's take a step back. She does a lot of great things with my kids, and my mom's farther away, but my mother-in-law will just pop in because she has my lab is, I bought her lab, is the sister of my dog.
Mm-hmm.
So she comes over and has play dates with them all the time, but there are times where it's like she helps out, but there are times where I'm like, okay, mile is a little too close.
Yeah, but that's for all fam and in-laws and all of that. You get the pros and the cons.
True,
you want them close
she's
by
more,
for the
she's
help.
more pro than con. Let me say that. Definitely more pros than cons.
Yes, exactly.
100%. You have to. I am not a big fan, and maybe this is the one new school thing I do. You can't just pop into somebody's house and be like, hey, what are you guys doing? Looking in the window, hey, I'm knocking. At least send a text. Hey, I just got in the car. I'm on the way.
But see, when she's a mile away, she sends that text, and she's 3 minutes away. So, hey, it's hey, I'm at the front door as the doorbell rings.
Yeah, but you got a gate. You got
she has
cameras.
a clicker. She has a clicker to the gate. She can get through the gate without. It's.
I have a clicker too, so I'm dangerous.
Yes. Also true.
Hey, on the topic of danger, our boy Todd Frazier, who's back with us next week because he's just exhausted from his 2 days of work last week. He took a vacation. He followed up on your Twitter beef, Kratzy, where you were getting after it with the crowd, with the world, all those nice people on Twitter saying, it would have been nice if O'Neal Cruz, ran out a ball that was hanging around for 10, 12 seconds and he only pulled up with a single. And Frazier goes, you're right. By all accounts, should have been on second base. He's active this morning, so he's got your back.
That's what I need. I really, it matters to me what the ex-players say, and I love the fact that AJ sided with the Twitter hounds.
Did he?
I did not.
No,
I
he was on your.
did not. I was on your side.
Yeah.
He said, and I quote, "Well, yeah, you shouldn't talk. You have a minus 0.1 ERA."
No. I mean, I did say that, but it didn't have anything to do with that. It was just funny. It was just funny that you knew your war, and that the fact that it's negative because you were a pitcher and gave up a home run.
No, that's. I mean, like what Todd said is really what. Even guys that were texting me about it when it was happening, they were like, dude, this is unbelievable. Like, they're losing their minds over something that's not it.
Well, let's give them something they love, which is becoming a big deal. You got a reply from, who was it yesterday? Omaha. So Kratz Hats continues every single day. How many days can we go with a different hat from Eric Kratz? So first, a shout out to a minor leaguer who did well yesterday, Endy Rodriguez. Pirates prospect, RBI double in a ball game yesterday. Just wanted to point him out because Henry Davis, former first overall pick, but they have another catching prospect in Rodriguez who might be just as good, which is a scary thing. So it's like friendly competition there, but also two catchers, not a bad problem. Kratzy, what are you wearing today?
Today, this is probably where I spent most of my time, and I found a hat actually with the sticker on it for AJ, since we're going to have a little talk about the sticker. So it shows how many times I've used this hat. But can anybody know what this is? If you've lived in the New England area, do you have any clue what that is?
Is it
not
like
the team.
The New England Weasels? I mean, what is that?
Well, it's like a weasel. It's an angry, it's like a mix between like a wolverine and a weasel. It's a Fisher cat, the New Hampshire Fisher Cats.
That looks like a pissed off beaver to me.
They are angry. Look up a Fisher cat and you'll be like, I don't need to mess with those. Just like I didn't want to have any extra time in New Hampshire, more than I spent already. I spent parts of like 5 seasons there. So you're going to see a bunch of different colors of these hats mixing through. But yeah, New Hampshire Fisher Cats. The only story, because I'm going to have a ton of them from there, is we were playing in Bowie, Maryland one time, and a fan comes up, and obviously our road jerseys didn't say Fisher Cats on them. It says New Hampshire. And this guy from Bowie comes up, and he looks at our jersey. He goes, New Hampshire, what state is that in?
Well,
what?
I don't know. What state is it in?
New Hampshire?
Did you answer him? Please tell me you gave him an answer.
Yeah, Kratz sarcastic answer. That's a layup for you, dude. Come on.
Ismael Ramirez, prospect with the Blue Jays at the time, he looks up at him and he goes, come on, Poppy, are you serious? And then we all went out and stretched.
New Hampshire.
I love that. Hey, let me do a little geography for you. Military base of the day with the Netherlands picking up their first dub in the WBC. Hello to everyone at Schinnen Army Base in the Netherlands. Co-base, it means Americans run the base, but has to follow Dutch laws and regulations, which I'm learning something new about that every day. So shout out to everyone out there. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for your service. And I'm told before we talk about the Netherlands and their win in the WBC opener, we have a special message from Mr. Todd Frazier.
Boys, just thinking about you. Bottoms up. And it's beautiful island. Let's go. Miss you guys. Foul territory, let's go.
Couple things before we dig really deep into that video. First of all, the shades, right? The Under Armour. Like, we can't get like some, Maui Jims, Ray-Bans, some Costa Del Mars. He's still using those free ones from when he played. Come on, Frage.
Game sunglasses?
Yeah.
Gamers.
And then second of all, the tan and the tank top. I mean,
that's Jersey right there.
It says Jersey Tourist.
I'm Jersey, so that's Jersey right there. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, Frage, clean it. And then a Kalik Light. You can't even get like the regular Kalik. Like he's going Kalik Light in the Bahamas. I don't know. He's screaming Jersey.
And you know what it says to me, Kratzy, is that's why he did reply to your tweet and say, I'm on your side with O'Neal Cruz, because, he's chilling on the beach, taking a few back.
Yeah, but I mean, Let's get a little bit more private too. I mean, my guy, he's got 10 years in the show. Like, let's get a little more private. Look pretty corporate there. I know he wants a place for the kids. I didn't see no kids running around, so they must be at the daycare.
No, he's at Baha Mar, right?
I don't know where he is. Do we want to let everyone know where he is?
Kratzy, so
the kids are just in.
The kids are at the water park. Yeah.
It looks beautiful. We had baseball practice outside yesterday here, and it was just as sunny. But I think the wind chill was like 28 degrees. It was frozen. Terrible. We're going indoors today.
Hey, Todd, also they have cabanas at Baha Mar you can rent. They're not that expensive. So, you're always, he's bragging about, his big league spread he's got. Like, spend that money, get that cabana. You don't have to be on the public beach when you send the Instagram video.
Yeah, but then his tan will be just as brutal. He'll come back with no tan. The guy needs to be out in the sun.
True.
He'll be like, hey, get me that Baha Mar sponsorship. Let me get that free cabana. Hey, let's do World Baseball Classic news. Happy opening day, WBC. Like we said, we're all awake for it to see the beginning at least. Netherlands took down Cuba. It's a little bit of an upset. I'm pretty sure that Cuba was favored in that one. Didi Gregorius brings in a run for Team Netherlands to start things off to tie up the game. And they win it 4-2. So a few notes that that stood out to me. Number one, we talked about him yesterday, and he totally came through. Kratzy, your boy, Roger Bernardina, 38 years old, 2 for 3, plus a walk, scored a run, and he's last found in the big leagues in 2014 when he was 30 years old. 8 years out of the bigs, looking like he can keep up with everyone easily. Huge contributor.
Running down balls in center field, too. Normally 38, you're sticking to the slow positions. Roger Bernardina he's that guy that you're gonna go back for, some kind of alumni game, some kind of like 2012 Phillies 1 month service time guys, and he's gonna look the exact same. This guy is trendy, beyond belief, spends a lot of time in France. He's got the whole Xander Bogaerts kind of, knows 5 languages, incredibly good looking, loves a martini. Like, this guy's, everyone else is drinking a beer when you go to the bar. This guy's got a nice triangle martini glass, and he's sipping it with an ascot on. Rock the ascots. Probably doesn't anymore, but rocking them.
So he's fancy.
He's fancy, and he had a great game, and he kind of helped catalyst that team last night.
Wait, first of all, yeah, he did, but I don't know that. Can you really say that Cuba's the favorite in that? Because the Netherlands are sneaky good every time this WBC rolls out there. They're sneaky good. So there might be some names name for name. I think the pitching we don't really know that much about Cuba, but I mean Bogaerts, Profar, Scope.
Didi made a great stretch on a Bogaerts play. Yeah, Didi at first.
Bogaerts made to end it. Now listen.
But wait, what are you trying? Are you trying to say that their names keep up with others in the WBC? Because that's not true.
What do you mean?
There's Bogaerts is a superstar, but I'm saying like there are at least 4 or 5 other teams that sport like way.
I'm saying
way
for that
bigger roster
for that game. I don't know that the Netherlands were that an underdog. They might have. I mean, maybe, but I'd say the Netherlands and Cuba
pretty equally matched in your mind.
I feel they beat them, so yeah, I think the Netherlands are better. How about that for a take?
There was a 2-3-4 in the lineup of Jan Moncada, Luis Robert, Yoenis Cespedes. They did work 3 walks, but they went 1 for 9. I mean, that's a pretty good trio there, even though Cespedes has been out for a few years out of baseball.
Play last year very well.
No, so Roberts is a stud.
Roberts is just, they're both
Robert
should be studs.
Should be a superstar.
But I just don't know that they're. I just don't think that because you just made it sound like Cuba should have killed them.
No. I thought you were going down the lineup. Netherlands, their roster looks just as good as some of these other teams.
But they're sneaky good, even with their and you got Bert Blyleven as their pitching coach, so they always figure it out pitching wise. But I feel like the Netherlands are one of those teams that are I'm not saying the Netherlands are going to win the whole thing, but they're sneaky good. They'll get out of pool play probably.
Yeah, Chadwick Tromp 2-run single, and Kenley Jansen's going to join the team in the quarterfinals if they get there. So.
Another
helps.
Weapon. You heard of him before?
Yeah, heard of him. Should be good.
And I think it's a testament to Blyleven. Like if you look at the pitching matchup, what was his name? Tom DeBlock. Yeah, Tom DeBlock. Yeah. Like he's got good stuff, but Rodriguez from Cuba, he was running some nasty stuff up there, and it shows. that possibly, and that's what I'm interested to see, because this is all about winning. Maybe the stuff doesn't necessarily win the games, huh? Maybe strikes and maybe attacking hitters a certain way. And I don't know Blyleven at all, but I'm sure he's bringing in some good ideas for these pitchers on how to attack hitters.
Well, it also shows the pitch count thing, right? Because Rodriguez, the guy for Cuba, he was like a setup guy, right? I believe in Japan, where he pitches professionally. So like for him to start, and he threw 3 innings, I believe, but like he's not used to doing that. So it's kind of a testament to how the roster are constructed, and the pitching coaches have to be obviously flexible. But yeah, sometimes it's not about like the big names, and we're going to get into when we get into the USA team, because there's obviously some big names missing on the pitching side. But can you manage it, and can you run the pitchers the right way and put them in the right roles when they're in different roles?
Rodriguez, 4 innings, 3 hits, a run, a walk, 6 strikeouts for Cuba. But after him, the next 2 pitchers gave up 3 runs. That was it. I mean, Cuba's going to have to slug. They're going to have to score some runs, but that trio didn't get the job done in this one, and they could be out pretty quickly. By the way, the other game that went down this morning and finished up, Panama took down Chinese Taipei 12-5. Wasn't really close. There was a sick catch by Luis Castillo, but otherwise that one plenty of run scoring, but that one not too dramatic. Oh, we've got it?
Dude, this is an unbelievable catch. Watch this catch. I mean, Kratzy.
Oh!
And the guy, the center fielder's on the ground looking for the ball, and then he's like, wait, he's got it.
Did the center fielder's glove get knocked off too?
I think everything got knocked off. His glove, his hat, everything. Boom. Everything went flying. Look, he looks for the ball, and it's in the guy's. Castillo's like, it's in my glove. But what we didn't show is the hitter from Chinese Taipei ran all the way around the bases thinking it was inside the park home run. He even slid into home plate. The umpire's like, out. Fans are going crazy. Like, it was like, no, you're out, by the way.
Carlos Gomez did that one time. I was catching, and he hit an absolute nuke foul homer and ran all the way around the bases and got to third base. And Eddie Cedar was like, hang on, it's a foul ball. And he was like, why'd you guys do that? Why'd you guys embarrass me like that? So I'm always good for like a full home run trot. So yeah, good for that guy.
This was a home run sprint, though.
Home run.
Full sprint.
Gomez always would sprint his home runs too. He'd walk around and hitting his head as he's going around.
Yeah, well, I don't know. That was an unbelievable catch. And Panama hadn't scored a run in forever, but the atmosphere in and I don't know how to say it,
Chinese Taipei.
Yeah, but no, city.
The city, Taichung.
Taichung, right, where they were playing. The cheering and the chanting and
so cool.
It was unbelievable. It was like a soccer game or something, because they were down 12-2, and they're still got the cheerleaders and the guys on the dugout banging the drums and doing all kinds of.
It's a party.
Dude, I love that the guy's on the microphone during the game though, saying like, I don't know what he was saying because I don't speak Chinese, but he was da 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 da, and then the fans were. It was awesome.
It's like remember like And One mixtape when you'd have like the MC kind of talking. Yeah, it's cool. I like it.
Or you know what it's like? It's like the Dominican. It's like Venezuela. Like the Fuvenzolas. Like, and that's kind of my argument when people say, the game's boring. It's boring. If you go to one of those games, it's not boring. So who's the one that's making it boring? Maybe if the fans got into it, I would love it if we sold some Fuvenzolas to, at games. But you constantly heard it. I had my game on surround sound over here at my TV, and it was like you just constantly heard that. Like, could you handle that at a game?
Yeah, heck yeah. I love it. I think it's great.
Agreed.
I think it's awesome, and there should be more of it in Major League Baseball. The last WBC in 2017, right? Mm-hmm. When like Dominican plays Puerto Rico or Venezuela, the fans are
nuts. Miami's going to be nuts.
The fans are the show.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they are the show.
A band. They got everything.
Yeah. Yes. They got dancers on the dugouts. They got bands. They got the horns, the trumpets.
They're standing. They're drinking. They're having a great time.
It's awesome.
It's a
they got
the
vibe. Flags draped over their shoulders. And then you get the American fans, and they're sitting there going on their phone saying, well, what can I tweet about my game? Like, no, get into the game.
No, you can do both. That's really the answer.
Yeah.
Hold up your phone and and have a good time. No, American fans last time when I was calling the games in Miami, they were good, but they were learning from the international fans. That was what was great too. They're like, "Oh, look at this. I want to join in on this." That's what, like you go to a party, whatever the vibe's like, you're going to kind of mix in with that, right?
I'm not going to your kind of parties.
No, I know that. That's topic for another day. By the way, on your ask of the underdog lines, yes, Netherlands was an underdog. They were plus 160, as in throw down 100, win 160. Like they were a pretty solid underdog last night.
You should have told me that yesterday. I would have bet that one.
Exactly. I might make you bet on the next one tonight. And we're going to post some videos on social later, like later when those games start. So we'll get some picks for you and some thoughts on the WBC. So America is going to start their exhibitions. They've got one at 9:05 Eastern time on Wednesday night against the San Francisco Giants. And what are our thoughts on Team USA and the pitching staff?
Well, I think the pitching staff is good. There's names on there. Lance Lynn, Miles Michaelis, Kendall Graveman is a great setup guy. Bednar was awesome for the Pirates, but I want the dudes, right? Like the other countries have the dudes. Like they're best of the best that can do it. In the USA, there's no Verlander, there's no Scherzer, there's no Kershaw, there's no Shane Bieber, there's no, I don't know, I'm trying to run off the top of my head, like probably the top 10 American pitchers that you can think of. Corbin Burnes, who we're going to have on later, Woodruff. Where are these guys? Like, that's the one thing that worries me about the USA team. You look at their lineup and it's stacked. Like their lineup is stacked, but can they pitch enough and can they mix and match? Can Andy Pettit, the pitching coach, mix and match enough to not only, because the problem you have is not only do you got to try to win the games, you got to keep 30 major league teams happy, right? And get some guys innings that need innings. So that's going to be the challenge. Can they do both and make another run?
And that's also for say Venezuela, Puerto Rico, Mexico, Dominican Republic. Like they have plenty of big league pitchers where they're going to have calls from teams being like, do this, do that. I want him pitching this day for this many pitches. They're going to deal with that too. I just think more of a talent issue in general. Team USA's lineup is ridiculous, and it's them or DR for best lineup. But pitching wise, you don't get a lot of the premier starters for Team USA to be there. Here's my thoughts. Kratzy, you've got the young guys who most are not going to be involved in my mind until they get their big contract, right? Like you're under team control for a long ass time. You're a big starter. Last thing you want is to go down in the WBC. It's just the facts, right? They haven't gotten their big payday. Like we're talking to Burnes later. I think Corbin Burnes next time around, and I'll ask him about it, would probably love to be a part of the WBC. The other end of the spectrum is a guy like Scherzer, Verlander. We saw this with Kershaw, and he couldn't get the insurance done with his, I'm assuming his back issue. But like Scherzer and Verlander, so they're up there in age. They signed massive deals, and their teams are like, yo, we're paying you 40+ mil a year. You're not pitching in the WBC. So that's where I'm seeing like this starting pitching issue, either on the young side or the older side with Team USA.
I see both sides of it, and in no way would I argue against a guy. Like if your decision and you're afraid of being hurt, whatever it is, don't do it. Like if you're adopting a new pitch and you're like, man, that new pitch might, it might hurt my arm. I get it. It's about longevity. It's about your team. But to me, this is my rant on international baseball. You don't play truly meaningful games like these games. And you only get to play those games in the playoffs. You want an opportunity for your young players, whether it's a minor league guy going to get to play for, some Team USA qualifier, maybe not WBC, or if it's a young guy that's, a year or two just established in the big leagues going to pitch in a WBC. This is the environment that will be as close, and I never played in WBC, but I played in Premier 12. I played in something else called the Pre-Mundial. It is the closest environment you can get to the playoffs from a how do I feel, my heart-wise, my mind-wise, and game plan-wise. Like it's time to go. Like when Tom DeBlock got runners on first and second, in the regular season, you're like, okay, I am trying to get a double play here, but I'm okay. I have another extra base open because I know I can face a hitter later in the lineup. Regular season, you're normally kind of going after that guy and you're not trying to get your pitch count up. Right now, it is about winning, and that is the name of the game. So if you want to develop your players, if you want to have, we're going to talk about Henry Davis maybe later in the show, send him down to the Dominican. Send him down to, if Team USA calls for him to play, send him out there. Whatever it is, it's about competing. And that's why I think the U.S. still might have a chance, because you have guys like Lance Lynn competes. Adam Wainwright competes. Miles Mikolas competes. Like, that's what you need. Yes, they might not have the stuff of a Corbin Burnes or the stuff of a Scherzer or Verlander. I'm not saying those guys don't compete, but it's about competition, and that's what's so great about it.
Wow, that's an A-plus rant from Eric Kratz. I'd love to hear how his former teammate thought his performance was. Corbin Burnes making his foul territory debut. Pumped to have him, a good friend of all of us here. And how's Kratzy on a daily basis now hosting a show, Burnes? You just got like a nice 2-minute, ESPN hot take style rant from your boy.
Yeah, I got a piece of it. It's good to see Kratzy on this side of the game. I got the pleasure of playing with Kratz. For I think it was about a half a season. He caught my debut and got me established in the big leagues. But it's good to hear him on this side of the mic.
Well, Corbin, trust me, he's let us know 5 times already today that he caught your debut. I mean, 2, 3, 5, whatever.
My claim to fame. My claim to fame. He's my friend.
I taught him everything.
Burnes is my friend.
How did he do? Did he clank any? That's what I want to know. Did he throw any cutters, and did Kratzy clank any?
Well, I wasn't throwing the cutter then, so that was just the 4-seam and the slider, and the first 4-seam went to the backstop. I don't know if he got a glove on that one, but I remember after that one, he's like, "Hey, you got a little bit of adrenaline on that one?" I said, "Yeah, I was trying to throw 100." He's like, "Well, you probably don't need to throw 100. Your stuff is good enough, regardless." So, but other than that, yeah, we got our first punch. We got a 2-inning save, so it was good.
It was a big spot too. It was a big spot in our season. It was, I'm going to say, July, where did we go Miami to Pittsburgh? Is that when did you go to Pittsburgh and then we went to the All-Star break?
Yep. Yeah, we were Miami, Pittsburgh, and that was, we were in a stretch there of, probably 16 or 17 games in a row. So we were a little thin in the bullpen. And I was just talking to Counts about it the other day of it's like, "Hey, Counts, you remember my debut?" He's like, "Oh, yeah." He's like, "We had Hader down, we had JJ down, and I told you were pitching that day regardless." He goes, "I didn't think it was going to be a 2-run ball game in the 8th, but hey, you did all right."
Yeah, you did great. I mean, AJ can attest to this. You go out and you look at a rookie's eyes when he's in the game. This is the 8th inning, and it was a 1-run game, if I remember, or maybe a 2-run game, but I'm not 100%. Yeah. And I remember asking him a question, because I'm trying to learn the guy. I wasn't in spring training. They have, DJ, Derek Johnson, was our pitching coach, and he told me what I needed to know about Burnesy, and I knew all I needed to know when I came out just to ask him, like, "Hey, what do you want to go here?" And he didn't say, "Yeah, I want to throw a slider. Yeah, I want to throw a fastball." He looks at me, he's like, "Yeah, whatever you want to go with, it's cool." And he wore glasses at the time, and there was one bead of sweat running down the lens of his glasses, because he sweats like, well, I won't say what he sweats like, but he sweats like crazy. And there was one bead of sweat coming down his glasses, and I was like, "Dude, this guy is locked in."
It was probably because of the 50 pitches I had thrown in the bullpen, because I didn't know to slow down, because I was still trying to figure out how to be a reliever, and Lee Tunnel out there is like, "Hey, you're good. You're probably good." So, "No, I need a few more.
Kratzy, you could take the whole 20 minutes here. Actually, we should do that one day for one of our Corbin Burnes call-ins. Just get Kratzy and Burnes just reminiscing. I love it. It's good stuff. Hey, Corbin, let me ask you about the WBC. So, A, are you into it? Like, will you be watching? And B, we were just talking about the pitching, not just for Team USA, but just pitching in general, because it's loaded with position players to the tournament. My thing is, it's a little bit of a tough spot. So you have your teammate, Freddie Peralta, for example, who wanted to pitch, and we're talking to him next week. I get it. Someone coming off an injury in the previous season, that makes sense. Then I have this argument, okay? You either have like the pitchers that are still under team control, trying to cash out, make their big money, and also take care of themselves. That's what the teams want, right? They want to take care of their guys, and it makes sense for the individual. Then you have the senior members like the Scherzers and Verlanders of the world who are getting paid 40+ mil by their team. And they're like, you know what? At 38, why don't you just start your season on April 1? Why do you think it's so tough for all these premier pitchers to get to the WBC? Am I onto something?
Yeah, so I think, the big thing for me when I was asked to do it, I was asked mid-season last year and basically say, let's wait and see. Let's wait and see how the year finished up. Let's see how the body's feeling. And so for me, it was about, hey, I want to make sure that I'm healthy opening day. I want to make sure that I'm full go opening day, that there's nothing that's going to hold me back. And, really just to try to get out there and throw that intensity this early in the season with, me still trying to, like I said, get to that free agency, do it, get a long-term deal, whatever it may be. It just felt smarter to stay in camp, continue my slow build up to be ready to get opening day. You see, I think Adam Wainwright's slated to throw game 1, which I will be watching all those games on. But he's a guy, gosh, he's been in the league for as long as I can remember. And he's going to go out there and he's going to, like you say, like Kratzy said, he's going to go out and compete. And he's going to go out and throw up zeros and give that team a good chance to win. So it's just about where guys are at in their career and what they feel like they're going to be ready for that early on. Having high-intensity playoff atmosphere games, March 9th or 10th, it's going to be really early.
Burnesy, would you play next time? Say you get a contract. Would you play in the next one if they asked you? If you were healthy, everything was healthy, you were good to go. Nate, what is it, 2027, I believe, is the next one?
Yeah,
scheduled?
That sounds right. Yep.
Would you, if whoever is in charge of Team USA said, hey, can we get a commitment from you? Is it something you want to play in?
Yeah, no, it's something that I'll definitely be interested the next time it comes around. I think that's something that would be cool to kind of check off the list of playing in the WBC. And we have a guy, Christian Yelich, who's played in it in 2017, was a part of that team that won it, and he said, there's no atmosphere like it. It's a playoff atmosphere early in the year, and he was actually talking about he kind of had this huge letdown of going and winning the WBC in mid-March, then going back to Jupiter, Florida with the Marlins and starting the season in Miami, where now they're getting 10,000 a game versus the 50,000 they were getting. So it's kind of like, hey, kind of a little bit of a culture shock almost of hey, I was getting 50,000 people in March, and now we're in April, and on a Monday night game we got 8,000 people. So definitely a little bit different feeling. But yeah, that's something I would definitely like to do at some point in my career.
Yeah, the Miami games last year, like USA, I always bring it up. USA Dominican Republic, calling that game might have been the best game I've ever been a part of on the broadcast side. Like the atmosphere was nuts, and I've been to many of those empty Miami games, living there, like looking around, like this is a new place, new house, looks great, but no one's in it. So yeah, the WBC is sick for that. Okay, so Corbin, I want to get to yesterday and the start and everything else. We're gonna have you on throughout the season, so we've got to do this in spring training right now because we haven't spoken to you yet, and we got players on this show. Just want to know from your perspective how things have gone since the arbitration case. I know you had some words about it, and we've been talking about too, like how the dynamic is with players, but what your thoughts were from that situation, because it was such a small amount of money that was being battled on, and many players since, like in a good way, have been outspoken about the fact that the system is just weird and wrong. So what were your thoughts on how that all went down?
Yeah, look, first off, it's it's the process that we go through. Once you get to the 3 minimum years, you get into arbitration. I don't think anyone likes it, and it's part of the process that we have to go to. And as a player, we've earned the right to try to go and argue what we think we deserve. And obviously, what transpired with me, it was not something that was kind of ideal. And I had spoken to Hader a lot about it prior going into it, and he was a guy that went through it the previous year. And Adrian Hauser did as well, so I got to talk to him about it. So just one of those things, you kind of know what to expect going into it, knowing that the team's going to do whatever they can to try to win their case and do what they can to make you look bad. And that's obviously that's what happened. But I've had meetings now with a lot of the guys in the clubhouse and with Counts and the coaching staff. Like, look, I'm going to go out there. I'm still going to do my job. My job is to go out there every 5 days, give out the best effort I can, try to give the team a chance to win. That's not going to change. So that's something I try to reiterate to all those guys is, look, I understand what happened. Everything became very public about it because of some of the stuff that was said, and just that's how the process goes. And my goal was not to trash the Brewers and trash anyone that was involved with the arbitration process, but more bring a light to what happened, and that this is a process that as big league players we go through, and not everything is as good and as happy as it sounds. But then on the backside of it, knowing that my players and teammates know that I've got their guys' back, they got my back. Every 5 days, I'm gonna go out there and give everything I got, and hopefully we can go win a World Series this year.
Corbin, I went to arbitration also when I was with the Giants. It's for people that don't know, and I don't know, Scott, if you've ever really sat through the process, or even Kratzy, because they
don't let us in the room.
So you go into this room, and it's just this long conference room, and there's a table in the middle, and there's a tee at the end, and there's 3 arbitrators sitting at the one end, and you sit down, and you're sitting across from the general manager. He's this table, he's right there, and they tell you the Players Association. I'm sure they told you the same thing, Corbin. Just don't react to whatever they say, and you're sitting there like this, and you go first, and you give your case, and you say, "Well, I'm worth $10.5 million."
Do you say it yourself?
I talked in mine. I don't know if Corbin talked in his, but I actually did talk in mine. And so I'm sitting there, and the GM is across the table, and you're sitting there, and your lawyer goes and he talks for 30 minutes. And then they take a 2-minute break, and then they talk for 30 minutes or whatever the time. I forget the time. And then you get rebuttals. And so you talk again, they talk, and they say stuff, and I'm sure Corbin will tell you, and you're just want to jump across the table and grab the GM, because you're first of all, that is bull crap. That's not right. And you can't do anything. So you're just sitting there, and just it's eating at you. And then you get out, and nobody says a word. Nobody says anything to anybody. You just leave. You're like, okay, good luck.
See you at spring training.
See you at spring training the next day. And then you get a phone call, and they say you won or lost, and they don't give you a reason why, right? It's the worst thing for a player to sit through. But I tell players, and I think, Corbin, now that you've been through it, if you really want to know what the teams think about you, sit in that room, and they will tell you, and they'll make shit up, excuse my language. Then you're like, that is not true. So please, if your experience was different, Corbin, tell me.
No, that's basically it. Now so a couple guys I've talked to, the team doesn't really send their GM or president of baseball ops. Those guys don't go anymore. It's a lawyer they hire, someone else in the front office who doesn't say anything. So basically, it's all said by the lawyers. They've given them their case to say, and for them, they think it's not as bad. I think because it's a lawyer saying it, not necessarily the GM saying it. So they kind of present their case, and again, you're sitting right across from each other. They're saying stuff. They're trying not to look at you, and you're just sitting there, just staring a hole through them. Are you serious? Like I said, and then each side talks. You have the rebuttal. I didn't say anything. The PA, I think now they don't really want guys saying anything or doing anything, so we just kind of sit there and just have to wear it. A lot of guys, a lot of young guys are like, well, how come you got to go to it? And it's one of those things it's kind of like the mandatory optional for those guys that went to college of, hey, you don't have to go, but you probably should go kind of thing. So it's it's one of those things that's basically it's mandatory. You sit there, you listen, you take it. At the end of the day, like you say, everyone gets up and walks out, and they kind of give a smile on the way out, and they're kind of like, hey, what's up? And you just kind of like, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and go back to my room and get out of here. And then the next day you get a phone call from I got it from the PA and said, hey, sorry, we lost. And that was kind of it, and said, good luck this year. So it's definitely a strange process, and something that I think probably should be changed, since the team just goes in there and just absolutely just tears apart all their players, saying a lot of stuff that isn't true, or crunching data the way they want to, and kind of leaving out all the good parts. But it's kind of a weird process, and I don't think many guys like to go through it, but sometimes you have to.
My question is, because I've never been through this, I didn't need to make it to arbitration, thank goodness, because they would have had plenty of ammo. But my thing is, I want to know, what is the worst thing that they said to you, but also what's the most pointless thing they said? Like, come on, bro. Why did you put that in there? Seriously, you caught me picking my nose, one time. I want to know from both of those what it was.
Yeah, mine was it's what I came public with was the worst, and one that was kind of hard to understand, and we actually had a rebuttal to it was I was the reason why we missed the postseason. So they kind of they pull everything up of in the first half we were such and such record, you were such, and you had this, all your numbers. In the second half they say that your numbers weren't very good. And they put together, basically they eliminate the month of September where I had, good numbers again. They put like a 3 or 4 stretch stretch in August of where I had like a 5 ERA. And they go, look, the team was starting to tank at this time, and that's the reason why they tanked the rest of the year. But they leave out that, had a good month of September. I was, 4 or 5 games over 500 in those starts I made, yet the team was 500. So they just completely skew the data to what they see, and hopefully that's what these arbiters hear, and that's what obviously they heard. And then that for me, that was also kind of the thing that kind of came out of left field for us as well. Was like the team will do whatever they can to try and make it look as if you aren't valuable to the team, to help the team or hurt the team in any way, and so they will make the numbers whatever they could. They made up stats. They do everything they can. As something that this is a stat that we really view heavily as a player, and you guys should as well. And it'll be stats that they made up. So it's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's a court case. That's the thing, which is so strange because like MLB will say, hey, we need better athletes, better overall players. Like Kyle Tucker lost his case, $2.5 million difference, and I read all about it this morning. They just kept saying, well, he doesn't hit enough homers. And they're like, okay, cool. Don't you want all around players? Like, just absolute garbage. So Corbin, right? I mean, like that's
Corbin, you're through it now, and now you just look at him and say, screw you, we'll go again next year. Like, let's do it again next year, because you've already been through it. So it's important for the players, though. I know it sucks, but it's important because it's the first chance you have as a player to really fight for your, not freedom, but the money you deserve. Like, this is your chance, your first chance to sit down and say, I'm worth this, especially if you don't have a long-term deal. So good for you for going, Corbin. I'm sorry you didn't win, but good for you for going, and I'm proud of you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's part of the process, and I think AJ, you said it best. Is you find out what your true value is and what the team really thinks about you, and I think that's more valuable than any money that you can really get out of it.
Nice motivation too. Like if you didn't need it already, right?
Man.
Like
creates
another chip, which never hurts. It's like bulletin board material for yourself. So
go ahead.
I was going to say, so I wanted to get that in there. Obviously, we're not going to talk about that during the season. What I do want to talk about probably almost every time we have you on is the cutter in general, because I'm watching your post-game comments on your start. And so the two things from your Tuesday outing is, and I don't care about the results, it's the execution in spring training. One, how did you like the pitch clock maneuvering and seeing what other guys are doing with it? Like a Scherzer saw some pauses and everything else to try and mess with hitters. And then I just loved the quote post-game with the reporters. You're like, I'm throwing the crap out of the cutter all spring so that I'm feeling it from start one of the regular season.
Yeah. So I think the kind of the first thing on everyone's mind is the pitch clock. I think everyone is still trying to get accustomed to it. Every team, every guy is trying to find ways to use it to their advantage. It's one of those things that I think as we get going more into camp here, as the season gets going, you're going to start seeing players and teams that can really take advantage of it. Scherzer's really pushing the limits as we're seeing, and I think it's good for all of us. We're all getting to learn, the ins and outs of the rules, where you can, capitalize on it. So I think the biggest thing is, Brzezinski and Kratzy, you guys are hitters. It's all about trying to get comfortable in the box, and so as a pitcher, we're trying to make you guys uncomfortable. So if we can use that clock in any way to make you guys uncomfortable, burn timeouts, quick pitch, whatever it may be, that's just something that we can gain as a little bit of an advantage. And then, back to the cutter. Last year it took till really June to have for me, have a good base of where I wanted that cutter to be. So I've told Caratini, I told Contreras, like, look, for me, it's going to be, let's see how many cutters we can throw in an outing. I don't care what happens. I don't care if we throw 4 or 5 in a row. I don't care if they're hitting it. For me, it's about getting the feel for it to be able to throw wherever I want in the zone. And yesterday it was a lot better. Early on in live VPs and sim games, the first game, the cutter wasn't where it wanted to be. Yesterday, it's better, so it was, it's trending in the right direction. But for the rest of camp, it's going to be just throwing a ton of cutters and mixing some other stuff in. But for me, I can get just as good as work on the the spin, the curveball, the slider, that kind of stuff in catch play and bullpen sessions. But for me, the cutter is something that I need that, the reads off of guys' swings to know we're getting the right action to it. And then once soon as we start pairing with the other stuff, we know we'll get, the ugly swings back.
I love it. You said catch play, by the way, which is funny because most people say play catch. And when I was in the minor leagues with the Twins, they're like, it's not a joke. You're not playing catch. It's called catch play. And so you don't hear a lot of people say that. So that's interesting that you said that. So Corbin, who taught you? I have a ball in my hand. I don't know if you can see it. I'm going to get out a Scotty shot. But
move over. There you
go. First of all, who taught you the cutter? And can you show me how you hold it?
Yes.
Can you talk me through it on the ball?
Yeah. So the cutter was something that I kind of thought of on my own. When I was working in the off season of 19 going into 20, I knew the four seam was just not going to be the pitch that I could rely on, and I knew I could spin the ball well with the slider and the curveball already. So for me, it was like the most logical thing to do was throw a. I already had a little bit of natural cut to it that I always tried to straighten out into a four seam. So for me, it was more about letting that natural cut just kind of take over. And then, my cutter grip is just it almost looks like a traditional four seam fastball with the horseshoe facing the other direction.
So the horseshoe facing that way.
Yep. And then just a slight quarter turn to bring that middle finger onto that seam. Yeah.
This seam here?
Right over there. Yeah. So that's it. That? It's just a little bit of a slight turn on the baseball that puts both the fingertips of that index finger and the middle finger on the seam, and then just let it rip and just let the kind of the natural cut and a little bit of angling of the baseball get that cut action to it.
Kind of like it'd be like you throw it like a fastball, right?
Yep. And my hand kind of works on the side of the baseball like that. I'm not good at, you see Freddie and Woody on our staff that are really good at that four seam fastball, getting behind it, straight hand coming through, and I just can't do that. My hand has a little bit of a slight turn coming to it through the pitching motion, and just spins the ball in the right way that we want to, and just kind of uses the natural cut and a little bit of the seams and the spin to get that cut to it.
It's interesting because Mariano showed me how he threw his, and he threw it with the horseshoe the other way. So, like you were saying, the horseshoe for you is out, right?
Yep.
Or this way, and you wanted to get it like that. Whereas Mariano wanted the horseshoe where his fingers were this way, and he would just turn it, and so his middle finger was on that seam, and he would rip it down. So it's interesting that two people with great cutters throw it different ways. Yeah.
It's all about, for me, it's finding the seams on the pads, the ends of the fingers on the pads of your finger. So for me, my curveball, my slider, my cutter, all the seams come across that pad of the finger at the end of your fingertip. So for me, it was finding a way that I can turn the baseball to get the same feeling on the seam, so I'm not trying to do something crazy and manipulate the ball in a certain way.
You were talking about, did you have the pitch comm on your glove yesterday when you were throwing? And have you wanted to call your own pitches ever since your debut when your catcher didn't know what he wanted to throw? Is that where this all comes from? Because if it is, I'm totally good with it. Twitter has beaten me down, and the minor leagues have beaten me down, and occasionally AJ beats me down. So
no,
fine. It's fine.
No,
talk about the pitch comm.
Yeah, so the pitch comm was. So I was one of the first guys on our squad to use it with the little piece in the hat, right, of the catcher. The voice, calling cutter down and away. So I was one of the first guys to kind of do that. And when I came into camp this year, Counts kind of brought it up of like, hey, there's Greinke's been a big guy for calling his own pitches. Scherzer's going to call his own pitches. Is that something you'd want to do? At first, I was kind of like, nah. Like I kind of like the catcher's calling it. I got a good routine, got a good rhythm going. I don't need to call my own pitches. And just kind of the more you start looking at the pitch clock, and with no one on base, 15 seconds, you shake twice, you're going to get a pitch clock violation. So for me, it was like, man, hey, how can we avoid that? There was ideas of, hey, if you shake twice, it's always just going to be a cutter. I was like, well, what happens when you're in an 0-2 count? You've already thrown two cutters, and now you're throwing a cutter again. Like it's probably not ideal. So you can't just have a default pitch that you go to because you're going to get in trouble. So that idea was kind of scrapped. And so basically that's when I kind of circled back to this pitch comm on the glove, which I don't think Jason Schauger was really happy with. He was our equipment guy because he's having to doctor up all my gloves and take off logos and glue them on other places so that we don't get in trouble. But it's just, for me, I don't call them all the time. William yesterday still called, 80-85% of the pitches. It's more about if instead of shaking with no one on base, you just go right to it and click the button you want. And then, every pitcher knows, you get strike one, you get strike two, you've got that feeling right away of your punch out pitch. So I just click it in and go. Or, you got to punch out and you're throwing the ball around, and as the ball's being thrown around, you click in your first pitch because hey, I'm starting guys, right-handers away. I want to start with the first pitch sinker in or something. So that's something that it may take a shake or two shakes to get to with a catcher. So you just call it in right away. So it's not something that I'm going to use, every single pitch. If for me, I still want to get in that good rhythm, that good timing of the catcher going in and knowing that we're on the same, same wavelength. And obviously, I think catchers can see swings and read swings better than anyone. They're right there. They can hear.
What happened? Did you get a call?
There we go. So we can. I think catchers more than anyone can read swings and know, like, when a guy swings to a pitch, like, oh, you can hear him, like, well, what was that? That's something that we don't know as pitchers. There's a lot. We can see a lot of things, but a lot of things catchers see that we don't see. So I think that's still good to have the ability for the catchers to call the majority of the game, and for us to kind of chime in when needed.
I love it. And you're going to be 100% on the pitch that you throw. But what I'm 100% about is you saying Schwager, like, look. Tell Schwager that there is no, like, if you want him to paint your glove red, he needs to do that, okay? That is his job, and you tell him that I said that, okay?
I will.
He's the biggest. He knows what he's doing, and he's one of the best in the game at it. So you make sure, don't let him give you any hard time.
Oh yeah, well, I'll make sure Kratzy said, hey, whenever I need this glove doctor, you got to do it.
Corbin, two more quick things for you. One, Cain he didn't officially announce it, but he was talking to a writer who basically said, I'm retired. So message for Cain on his retirement, someone I know had a great relationship with. I mean, who doesn't? He's like one of the nicest dudes on the planet.
Yeah, I mean, Cain was awesome in that clubhouse. I still remember the day that we got both Yelly and Cain on the same day, and it kind of put this organization on a track that it hadn't really been on in a long time, as far as going to have some veteran talent, some good guys in the clubhouse, and turned us into a winning culture. So Cain was a big part of that. He had some great years in Kansas City, and when he came to Milwaukee, he always told us that, hey, Kansas City got my good years. And so that was one of the, we still got plenty of good years from Cain, but that was one of the things he always said, is that Kansas City got his good years. So I love Cain. Still love seeing him. He'll still come out and do all the fantasy football stuff, and so we get to see him a little bit. And gonna miss seeing him around the game, seeing him in the clubhouse, seeing all his crazy kids running through the clubhouse. Congratulations to him on a great career, and hope he enjoys retirement, and enjoys his kids.
Yeah, and he's a great personality. That's a great Cain line. So at some point, definitely got to get Cain involved here. Okay, and lastly, and we can get into this on a longer topic another day, but just many have asked about this, the mental component of the game. I know what stood out to me is, and we've talked about this in other interviews in the past, sports psychologists with teams. I know that was a big thing for you, helped you a ton. So wanted to get your thoughts on how helpful that is within the game, especially for baseball players when they deal with so much failure. And then after the game, everyone's jumping to their phones. There's so much going on. And are you still utilizing that?
Yeah. So I still have weekly phone calls with Brian, and still always trying to get another edge up in the mental side of it. Coming off of 2019, obviously there was no secret that was a tough year for me, and not only on the baseball field but off the field. It was one of those things that I was taking baseball home to my family and my wife, and it made all relationships strained. So for me, it was learning how to separate the game and life, and I think that was probably the biggest thing that I can take away from it. That was the biggest positive. But then I learned a lot of things as far as routines and breathing and how to break down starts and outings, and I think that's something that a lot of guys shy away from still in the game. No one wants to go see the strength, but those guys can do a lot of good and not necessarily breaking down how you think, and the typical therapy side a lot of guys think of. For me, I think of it more as a mental performance coach versus a psychologist or team psychology, whatever it may be. For me, it's the mental performance coach, and from that I've learned how to really structure my days around baseball, structure my day of work done at the field, so that when I get on the mound, it's going out and having fun. That's something I got away from in 2019. Was baseball was not fun. When you're giving up homers at the rate I was giving at, baseball no longer becomes fun. So when I was able to kind of get things figured out and learn how to deal with adversity, baseball became fun, and we ended up coming out of it all right.
Yeah, everything's going well. You throw the crap out of that cutter all spring training long. We'll talk again soon. And how did Kratzy do? This first time you're having him on a live daily show. Is the new broadcaster of the year here in baseball.
Yeah, I think so far. We'll be an A+ there, Kratzy.
Yeah, let's go.
That means a lot, Burnesy. That means a lot.
I'm not sure what hat you got going. The hat, I don't know, is the hat green? I can't tell.
The hat's green. Yeah, it's green. Fisher cats.
Okay, all right.
It's a new thing on Twitter, Kratz hats. He wears a different hat every day for the 2,686 teams that he played for. He's even got beer league softball. He's got international. He's got it all. So
I did find some Little League hats last night. So if you have a Little League hat, Burnesy, don't be afraid to rock it sometime. It could be on Kratz hats. I'm just saying.
I'll have to find some old ones.
Hey, Corbin, this was awesome. We're excited to have you on throughout the season. Enjoy the rest of spring training. We'll talk to you again very soon. And thanks, man. Appreciate you.
Yep, thank you guys. Thanks for having me on, and looking forward to the next one.
Thank you, Corbin Burnes with us. Yeah, especially with Kratz, that was awesome, and Kratzy on the debut. I mean,
yeah,
that's.
I just wish you would have had pitch comms so he could have not had to shake Kratz off so much in his debut.
That would have been a boss move. In your debut, you just come up and you're like, I'm good. Like, I don't even know who Eric Kratz is. I looked up his WAR. Like, here, you just listen to this thing.
Hey, I got this, kid.
Yeah,
I got this. Okay.
But that honestly, that's how he kind of was when him and Woodruff came up. Woodruff was kind of he was an up and down guy. Burnesy, as soon as he came up, he was up and he was a piece in our bullpen. Obviously, his first outing gets a 2-inning save, but this guy, like, it makes it easy. AJ, when you're down there and you're like, yeah, hi, this is a big spot. I know what I need to throw. And you're looking at your fingers like, there is not a call pitch I can call right now. Like you're sitting there going, I don't know what to call. And that wasn't the case with him. Like I couldn't go wrong. It's like the catcher's for him now. Like if he accidentally just always hits cutter and every button is programmed to cutter, I'm pretty sure he's going to get it right.
I agree. And listen, I loved when he showed how to hold the ball, right?
Yeah.
Like that's super cool to me. And any baseball fan or any kid or any, high school kid out there, like I was always taught, again, Mariano showed me, like I showed you. And then he showed me a completely different grip, right? So I can go today to practice and say, because we worked with some kids yesterday in my son's high school and throwing a slider / cutter. And I was showing them how Mo showed me. And then, so now I can say, well, also, Corbin Burnes showed me this one. If that one doesn't feel right, we'll try this one and see if because people have different feels for different pitches. Not everyone holds it. Not everyone hits the same way. Not everyone throws the same way and feels it the same way. So for him to do that, it's pretty awesome. And he taught himself.
AJ is going to be name dropping at the high school practices now each day. From his guests. He's like, Burnes told me this today. Scherzer told me this today.
You're allowed to name drop. The high school kids are like, they hear the name drop and they're like, wow.
Yeah.
What's your dad's name again?
Dude, I told them all, listen, I said, if you don't watch the Carlos Correa interview we did last week and learn something about how to prepare, then all of you are failing.
Yep.
And then if you're a pitcher and you don't watch what Corbin Burnes was talking about today, you're failing. If you're a coach out there watching and you're not having your pitchers watch and have him talk about the mental side of it and dealing with failure and learning new pitches and what he's going through, like it's just things that people need to hear. And I'm so happy we have a platform for it.
Hey, let's bring in our next guest, too. She's been hanging out in the green room waiting for us, and we really appreciate the little wait because Corbin Burnes was getting after it with us. MLB.com's Mandy Bell covers the Cleveland Guardians on a daily basis. Their beat reporter, one of the superstar writers in the industry. Mandy, thank you so much for joining us. Great to talk to you. How's your day going, and did you catch any of the Burnes interview there?
I did, and I think I'm reiterating everything you guys just said. How cool is it that he's sitting there showing grips? I mean, I don't think there's anything cooler than that for anyone watching, especially kids. So, sort of like reminded me of how we saw Adam Wainwright do that mic'd up pregame last year, going through his whole pregame routine. Coolest things ever, and I think just doing wonders for kids out there who have resources like this now.
Mandy, you're out in Goodyear, is that right? In Cleveland camp, in the
Yep.
Guardians. How are they doing? I mean, my White Sox, they beat the tar out of my White Sox last year. So, I mean, are they talking about that again? There was a big celebration. They won, and a lot of White Sox talking their celebration. So, I mean, how's it going out there?
I mean, it seems like the vibe is pretty much the same as it was last year, which is different because last year no one expected much of them. And then this year, everyone's sort of expecting things. And yet they're still trying to keep the same mentality of having this chip on the shoulder, trying to prove people wrong. I think they're really looking at it as, okay, well, people don't think we can do it again. And so that's how they've been able to have that same type of a mindset going into this year. So I think largely they're trying to just approach this season like they did last year, because in reality, it is going to be difficult to duplicate what they did because a lot of things had to go right and they all did. And so seeing if that can play out once again will be challenging, but I think that they're trying to keep that same let's prove everyone wrong mentality.
Mandy, happy International Women's Day today. Nobody congratulated you. Thank you for being a woman and being a new wife. But isn't what you just said, isn't that your job as the writer who's following the Guardians? Like, hey, you know what? You need to tell us how this team is going to accomplish what they accomplished last year. So who is not necessarily even a prospect, who in camp that you haven't written about yet, or you're maybe about to write about, do you think is going to have a huge impact on that team? Because the reason I say that is because the Guardians, year in and year out, are calling people up that fit into roles and may not have that prospect status, but they also call up the prospects. And if they don't hit well, they don't pitch well, we'll see you. Like, they'll go and get the next guy. So who is that guy in that camp, or maybe several guys?
I think there are a couple of guys. I mean, one, I think without a doubt, it's going to be Tristan McKenzie, who is going to need to have that huge year behind Shane Bieber. We've all seen Shane Bieber and what he's able to do consistently. We saw Tristan McKenzie and what he's capable of last year. But I think to see him duplicate what he did last year and show that he can be consistent, because I know that was a problem for him in the past. He got sent down in 2021 because he was struggling with his command, and proving that he can be consistent and just showing that he could be like a Cy Young type of contender. I think that'll be huge for this team. Now, offensively, it's going to be, I think, Oscar Gonzalez is the big one that I'm watching right now, because there's a lot of doubt, I think, that he can do what he did last year and do it just as well. Because like throughout the minor leagues, the biggest thing with him was that he is so aggressive at the plate. His plate discipline just didn't seem like it would translate well to the big leagues. It didn't seem like he would be successful. And somehow he was able to pull that off last year. Now, can he avoid that sophomore slump? Can he get into it more this year, where he's saying, look, I'm here to stay. I can be consistent at the plate. I can sit there and I can draw more walks. I can be like more patient. I think that's the biggest thing for him to answer, because if he's not able to do what he did last year, this is a completely different lineup. That's a big hole to try to figure out how they're going to fill. So I think he's a big focal point for this offense.
I'd called 4 or 5 Guardians national games last year, and you're around this guy, and like he almost went in the Rule 5 draft and they could have lost him, which is a whole nother story in itself, which we can get into. But you're looking at the guy, and then you look at him in BP, then you look at him in the game, and you're like, how the hell was this guy almost going to go to another team? Like he's a monster. He looks good out there. So I'm with you. I'm expecting big things from him. I want to double down on Happy International Women's Day. Mandy, one of the great voices and writers in the game, and we all shouted out the amazing women in our lives, both who we work with and part of our families. So wanted to just give you a chance to give a shout out, but also to specifically in this industry, the women that have made a major impact in your career.
Oh man, that's difficult. I think it's easy to sit there and just think about everyone. I mean, I grew up watching people like Meredith Marakovich, seeing how great she was at her sideline job. I mean, people like Kim Jones. I was a Penn Stater, so like Kim Jones was a big one for me because she was a Penn Stater. You think about watching Jess Mendoza every single Sunday. It was just so easy to see these figures. And I was lucky enough to be part of a generation where it was easy to see figures like that. I know they all didn't have those types of figures as regularly as my generation and the next generation will. And so it's nice to see that becoming more normalized and easier for other women to see people in this role that look like them and are like them. And so, yeah, and I guess for a shout out, I mean, is it easy enough for me to always just shout out Sarah Langs every time I have? So I think Sarah Langs is going to be my easy shout out for that one. She's my best friend. Obviously, if you follow me on Twitter, we don't really hide it that well. So I think I'm going to shout out Sarah Langs as much as I can.
That's nice. That's great. Mandy, didn't Meredith Marakovich, didn't she play volleyball at Penn State?
She was LaSalle, but Kim Jones was there. But she did play volleyball. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I got the two. I got the two confused. Yankee reporters. You get them a little confused sometimes. Yeah, right. Okay, so Eric already mentioned you just got married recently. Is your husband a baseball fan?
Okay, is he watching right now? No, I'm gonna go with it's enough. He actually works for the Cleveland Cavaliers, so he's more into basketball, but he can get by as a baseball fan. I guess I'll give him that.
Okay, did you grow up a Guardians fan / Indians fan?
No, so I was from Pennsylvania, and somehow instead of falling into the Orioles, Phillies, Pittsburgh Pirates land, I actually grew up a Yankees fan, if you couldn't tell from the women I listed. But somehow got brainwashed at a young age to fall into that.
Okay, so is it tough? Like if the Guardians play the Yankees, you root for the Yankees or you root for the Guardians?
You don't root for anything. You root for
That's
the
a
best
lie. That's a lie.
No, that's
true. It is not a lie.
No, you want your team to be good. If you cover a team, you want them to be good. You don't want to follow a crappy team.
Oh, you're saying as a beat reporter, you want the team to be good.
Yeah,
that's actually
the
interesting.
Best possible angle. If it's a loss, you just want them to lose in a creative, weird, fun way that you can go write about. That's different. You don't want the run-of-the-mill 4-0 loss with absolutely nothing to write about.
No, you want to win, a creative win or just a win, because when you go in there, the guys are like, oh, man, it's so great to see you. We won. Whereas if some guy boots the ball in some crazy way, the guy's like, I don't want to see you. I don't want to talk to you. So, you root for wins.
I guess so. I guess you hope for the best possible outcome to be able to write about. And I guess it is fun to cover a postseason run. So you have a point.
You write about these players on a daily basis, multiple stories daily. And you have other stories in the wing, in the queue that you're working on. How do you build as a writer? How do you build that relationship with those players your way? Not necessarily maybe how you do it, and also how you've been taught and seen other people do it.
Well, my own take on it is I am child obsessed. So anyone with children, I am 100% starting with asking about their kids and finding out every single thing about them, because genuinely, I absolutely love learning about kids and hearing about them. So that's my easy way into conversations. But I mean, I think it's just being approachable, trying to show that, look, I'm not trying to be the enemy here. People can easily look at media like that, and just trying to be a friendly, familiar face and not trying to seem like you're trying to overstep. And you're just trying to broadcast more about the game that you love so much. And so trying to find fun, positive angles more often than just trying to dig into the negative. I think that's the biggest thing for me. And you just try to have as much small talk as you can as you're walking through the clubhouses, and show people that you actually care about them as human beings and not just the prop of trying to get something out of for a story or whatever it may be. But I think that's just the biggest thing for me.
And you've got a pretty young Cleveland Guardians group, which is fun. I mean, they're not, big league and all the reporters like AJ and Kratzy used to do. Tito doesn't big league anyone. No, he doesn't.
Mandy, has Tito ever said, "Oh, hold on, guys, I got to finish my cribbage game before I can talk to you"?
Probably at some point, but now that he lost Brian Shaw, I don't know if he has many cribbage partners anymore. But yeah, that was a big thing. That was a big thing.
He used to tell us we'd go in there for oh, hold on, guys, I got to finish my card game. And then the worst part is you come out with like his shirt off, and you're like, "Oh, please, no, put your shirt on, Tito."
Luckily, he doesn't walk into the media room shirtless, so I don't have to worry about that one.
Okay. Exactly. There you go. Okay, so I've got one more Guardians question for you, Mandy. So this was the youngest team in baseball last year. They have done just one of the best jobs in baseball at making trades, but also developing their prospects, which we talked about. But like the Lindor trade, the Kluber trade, Clase, Jimenez, Ahmed Rosario. So clearly they're doing something right. I have heard from those in the industry, they're difficult to trade with. Their front office members are super nice humans. It's Midwest nice. It's that they value their prospects at a certain level and they don't budge, even if that means not making a trade. Your thoughts on that? Because it's not a knock because they're doing it well, but you hear the grumpy other front offices being like, "Oh, I can't deal with Cleveland because they think their prospects here and they won't move off of that."
Yeah, that's extremely accurate. That is it to a T. They have a price in mind. They never say really anyone's off the table when it comes to conversations, but some people are going to be worth the farm and some people maybe a little bit less, but they do not ever sell anything for a penny less than what they think that they should get. And so they've become masters at it. You just listed off so many guys right now that are huge impact players for them that were part of trades that were some big name players. I mean, you think of how they got Emmanuel Clase. You start thinking back to Corey Kluber, and that was such a huge name for this franchise. But now it's turned into Clase, who's just the best closer in the American League. And so they know how to find these types of trades that can turn into something that really can send an all-star player like Francisco Lindor and get an Andres Jimenez, who fans were already saying within like the first 2 months after Lindor left, like, "Oh, we won the trade. Like everyone was so in on it after losing a star like Lindor. It's really impressive how they've done it. But yes, there's a reason why right now they have one of the best minor league systems, but they don't really have many places for these young guys to come up because everyone's young on the major league roster. No one really takes days off. And so there's not many holes for these guys to come up and fill, but they still haven't parted ways with them when most people would have already had some turnover by now to try to get some trades going because they don't have enough middle infield spots for all their middle infielders that are in their top 30 prospects right now. Well, they're still hanging on to them. They obviously haven't gotten the deal that they've wanted to get. And so they're going to hang on to them, even if they don't really have the places for them, even throughout their minor league system. It's going to be so crowded right now to try to find places for everybody, but they do not let go of people unless they think they get exactly what they deserve.
Smart.
Yeah.
It's smart, though.
It's
working.
Organization.
It's working, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mandy, last thing for me, you recently did an interview where you mentioned rule changes you think are going to help the Guardians. Can you kind of expand on that a little bit? Is it because the bases, the pitch clock, they're going to steal more bases? Like, what's the main thing you see helping the Guardians?
I don't know if it's necessarily helping them as much as it doesn't hurt them as much as it could other teams. I think that the pitch timer is something that they can really use to their advantage. And Tito always talks about, like, we're going to try to get anything that's presented to us and spin it to be the best possible advantage for us that we can. And the biggest thing for them is they're so young. I mean, all their pitchers just came up using that in the minor leagues. And so you have so many teams right now that have really veteran pitchers who are in their ways and have not had to adjust to anything like this ever. And this rotation and most of this bullpen just came from using it. And so they're like, okay, well, this is nothing new. We know exactly how to use this. And then we know how to keep the game moving. And I never even thought twice about their rotation struggling with this at all because they work so fast to begin with. And so those types of things, I think they can use to their advantage. Just some teams might be a little bit slower to adjust. I think these guys have zero issue with it. And it will not take them very much time at all to adjust to this. I think maybe just a start or two in spring training, and they're already like, okay, we're fine. We know how to do this. So, I mean, just the scrappy base running that they do, they're always going first to third no matter what. I think that maybe the bigger bases could help them steal a little bit more and help them play their small ball game. But I think they're just figuring out ways to just make these as beneficial to them as possible, maybe easier than other teams.
Yeah, I love their style of play. They were zigging while everyone else was zagging last year, and it was really cool and fun to watch. Mandy, you're a rock star. You can follow her. IG is at Mandy Bell MLB, and Twitter is at Mandy Bell 02. And then let's just finish with this. I think we've got the shirt to show off, which they're coming in the mail for AJ and me next week. So I think we're bringing Sarah on in the next week or two. The shirt is so money. Baseball is the best. You can see down the middle, end ALS. Always thinking about Sarah. We were texting with her yesterday, actually. So a shout out on a special day here to your true BFF, Mandy. It's an awesome relationship to watch you two like on social media too, like having your back and forth, like two of the best in baseball. So we appreciate you, and thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Mandy Bell covering the Cleveland Guardians. That was awesome.
Great.
Good stuff. Yeah, we're getting those shirts next week.
Awesome. I can't wait. And I just love like how knowledgeable, right? Like we could ask her anything about the Guardians or pretty much anything in baseball.
Well, that's why beat writers are great. They don't miss a beat.
I mean, but her answer about, I'm just going to go back to this because like you want your team to win. Like I know she's like, oh, I want the best. Bull. Because if you're following a team, Kratzy, and you're there, when your beat writer is there with you every day, they want you to be happy and they want a good team to cover because it's so hard for them to find stories if you're losing, and it's so hard to get the guys to talk about things if you're losing. Am I wrong in this?
Nobody. I mean, part of the question I asked about the relationships, like part of it is the relationship, and you don't have a good relationship with anybody in your life when when you're losing all the time, when you're struggling. You don't make eye contact with reporters. You barely make eye contact with your family. Like you're sitting there and you're like, when are we going to turn this around? And then, that's when I think the fractured relationships with the media comes in is, things don't go well and you're already, your mindset, you're already hurt. Your feelings are already hurt because you didn't do well. But then they have to ask the same questions that, you know what, if they ask the same question after you win, like everybody's happy. It just makes everything better. It makes the season like, wow, I had no idea it was September already. Just keep winning every day. You come to the park. And I think she gave the PC answer there. I think she was really cheering, and she probably still cheers a little bit for the Yankees. The issue is the Yankees absolutely slaughter the Guardians year in and year out in the playoffs. So that's a hump that the Guardians need to make it over.
This is where I'm going to go against you guys, and this is maybe one of the only reasons why I'm here, but media member, right, not former player, and calling games and doing my thing, and I grew up a Mets fan. Like, sure, I want the Mets to do well for my family per se, but if I'm covering them or I'm calling the game, like I really was able to extract that fandom from my body and still be a massive fan of the game. So sure, does a beat writer want to cover 100-loss team every year? No. But also, even on the relationship part, Kratzy, you know how this is. There's a beat writer in the clubhouse every damn day and they're with you through the hard times. Then you have a lot of respect for that too, right? It's like the high school girlfriend or college girlfriend and you're making shit and then all of a sudden you become a star, right? And they're with you from the jump. Like there is something to that. I mean, I've had that with teams and with even just players that weren't a big deal. And then all of a sudden they emerge and they're like, oh, you were on me from the beginning, always bringing me on shows, whatever. So I just think I get what you're saying. It's cool. But at the same time, like her season last year, I think like was just as cool just because of the Cleveland story, youngest team emerging in the Central. Like, I don't think she's going, damn, they didn't win the World Series.
No, but she's saying youngest team, they're emerging and they won the division. So you just proved my point.
No, I didn't. I didn't. I'm just saying it's an interesting team.
So if they would have gone to the last day and lost at the end of the year, would she have the same feeling?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No chance.
You know an interesting team to cover last year?
Who?
The Chicago White Sox, and they didn't do shit.
Yeah, and it was miserable.
Right, but it was interesting and it's fun.
It was miserable.
But miserable for the team. The reporter had so much juice to cover all the time.
Dude, I talked to Scott Merkin yesterday, who's the beat reporter.
And he said it was boring and it sucked?
No, he said it was miserable because he had to go in and talk to the guys every day.
Yeah, but the stories are interesting.
The stories are the stories, but you'd much rather. I mean, at least for me, if I was a writer,
but he's not.
But I want to cover positive stuff. I want to talk positive.
I mean, yeah, but there was stuff to cover. It's interesting, and fans want to hear about it. Their job is a journalist. Okay. So when we bring him on, we're bringing him on probably next week. We'll ask him about it. But I'm just saying, in my opinion, that's how I've covered the game. That's just my pushback. Not saying I want to cover a 100-loss team every year. And I know on the play-by-play side, I have a few friends that cover shitty teams every year, and they say it sucks. I think on that side, if they're like a team employee, it's a little bit different. If you're a writer and you're a little more neutral,
depends on which. Kratz, it depends. Catch me if you're wrong. Catch me if I'm wrong here, but it depends on what kind of writer you are. Now, if you're like Mandy works for the Guardian, MLB, right? .com?
MLB.com.
So she works for MLB.
Yeah, technically.
So she's going to spin it positive.
No, I mean, if there's a bad story,
true.
It depends.
Most of the time,
there's a line. There's a line.
Now, there's also reporters
that
are, again, Kratz, tell me if I'm wrong, that are there to stir it up. Like we had Jay Mariotti in Chicago.
Yes.
That was
Dan Shaughnessy in Boston.
To stir it up,
yes.
right? So they're looking for the negative crap to write all the time.
So you're saying, that's just personalities. You're saying case by case. Like Dan Shaughnessy in Boston, I'm just throwing, there's multiple names like this across the country. They thrive off of chaos.
Yeah.
So he's not rooting for the Red Sox to necessarily win a World Series. He actually does. Business is good for him.
But they lose the Red
Sox are a shit show.
100%.
That's what I'm saying is not every writer is the same way. It's interesting. I've never thought like AJ's bringing this up now to writers being like, yo, what's your angle here? Are you rooting for them? Like what? I like it.
No, because I mean, I didn't know where Mandy grew up. So she said Pennsylvania, but there's Pennsylvania's close to Ohio. So she could have been a Guardians fan, an Indians fan back in the day.
I'm just saying you can separate it when you're now in the media. I was able to. I mean that. I was easily able to separate.
When you call Phillies games, you're rooting for the Phillies, aren't you?
I am, but I grew up a Phillies fan, so I think that's where I come from with that. But I also, when I played, I wasn't just a Phillies fan like my entire career when I'm playing for the Brewers. Oh man, the Phillies beat us. That's awesome. But on the same hand, I think the writers they have an invested relationship, whether they do or they don't. Like your relationship dictates how the team is doing. You know, the guy you're talking about from Boston, like he's going to be the first one then that when they go 2 for their first 7 games, they're 2-5, he's going to be calling for Joey Cora's head. Like he's already got that story in the queue.
Or Alex Cora, but
Alex Cora, Joey Cora.
What did I say, Joey Cora?
Yeah. He might
be calling for Joey Cora to take over for Alex Cora.
Oh, Joey's distracting him, whatever. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
No doubt. I said Brian Roberts yesterday and not Dave Roberts, and you guys didn't call me on it, so I'm glad. I'm glad you don't catch everything.
No, we caught it. We just don't want to call you out. We're trying to let you grow with this job.
Yeah, exactly. It's Kratzy's like 5th show. All right, so I've got one more thing I want to do before slap hands. The Reddit community is massive. I don't think they get enough pub on like national media or whatever the hell you want to call a show like this. So new segment, going to do it weekly at least. It's called Reddit on Wednesday. And I just sift through Reddit. The Reddit baseball feed has like 2.5 million followers. There's so much shit on there that's hilarious, unfiltered. It's just very on brand for what we're doing. So I've got 2 topics for you. First off, this one had a lot of buzz. It's from conspirator number 1 on Reddit. He goes, or she goes, I will go to my grave believing that Mike Piazza was telling the batters in the 2004 All-Star game what he was calling for Clemens to throw. Those two didn't like each other. You were prime AJ those years around all of those guys. Your thoughts on the conspiracy?
I wouldn't put it past him. I mean, Clemens did throw a bat at him.
That's what I'm saying.
He also hit him in the head.
Yeah,
right?
And it's an exhibition game, so screw it. Tell everyone
it did
what he's throwing.
It gave people home field advantage in the World Series, so maybe it did matter.
I guess you're right.
But listen, that's a good one because if you think about it, like, what do you have to lose if you're Mike Piazza? And plus, you're like, wow, I can't get him back because I already lost my chance to fight him. So, yeah, why not tell him what's coming? I'm in on this one. Reddit number 1 guy.
I'm in on it too, and I would love to ask Mike Piazza about it. Like that's the conspiracy, all the conspiracy stories that I think of in my mind. Like I want to ask that guy, and now we have a platform. We can get we can get old Pizza on here and ask our guy, did you do it? Because
he's managing Team Italy.
He is. But I'm saying right after that, let's get him on and ask him about the story.
I like long plays, and that's a great long play. If he hasn't told anybody that, he's played the long game, and we're coming up on the 20th anniversary of it next year for the All-Star game. Let's go. What is it, Mike?
There's some. I mean, I don't know all the conspiracy theories, but there's some pretty solid conspiracy theories. Like in general, like we got the flat earthers, right? We didn't land on the moon ones. We got aliens made the pyramids. I mean, there's a lot of conspiracies. There's some in baseball. I don't know. We're going to get into them, but there's some in baseball other than that are pretty solid too.
Well, I have a question from two catchers. Did you ever come across anyone that told a hitter what's coming? You did?
I did.
What?
We'd tell him. If there was a guy we couldn't get out.
If there was a guy you couldn't get out.
Tell him what's coming.
Is that like
they won't believe you and
Tony Gwynn down the middle kind of thing? Just give him a fastball down the middle?
So not Quantrill. Gosh, what was the guy? He played for the Angels. Quinlan, Rob Quinlan, right? Mm-hmm. Mark Burley couldn't get him out, right, at all. He was like 10 for 12 with like 6 homers off him. So we had a meeting. We're like, well, how are we going to do with Quinlan? And our pitching coach, Don Cooper, says, we're just going to throw him sinkers away every pitch. And I'm like, are you sure? And he goes, yeah, and I want you to tell him what's coming. I said, okay. So Quinlan came up first about. I think it was Rob. I'm like, hey, Rob, you're just getting nothing but sinkers away. And he looked at me like I was absolutely crazy. I mean, I think we got him out 3 or 4 times that night. But then he figured it out after that we were only throwing him that. So we had to change it up. But for that one night, we got him out. It worked.
I love it. My conspiracy thing is, you hear a lot about like old time guys like that had somebody that worked for the stadium, sitting in the stands. You had somebody that, worked on the scoreboard and would blink a certain light. Those are all conspiracies unless you actually ask that guy. But hey, maybe we can delve into it. Maybe our producers can track some of those guys down.
We can. Hey, we don't have time today, but when I was with the White Sox, we caught red-handed. We caught a certain team up north. We caught them doing something of that ilk.
Do you want to go there now, or you want to save it?
We'll get into it one day.
Save it?
And Kratz, what you said, we asked a player about it, and they were, don't put me in that group. Not me. It wasn't
I'm going to get calls from Drellick and Rosenthal. It's going to be the next scandal.
Wasn't me.
I'm posting this whole thing on Reddit. They're gonna go freaking nuts about what you're talking about right now.
Listen, you can ask.
That's a conspiracy right there.
It wasn't a conspiracy.
Yeah, but you're throwing shit out there and you're not giving the story.
Well, we'll get it. We have every day.
I know we do.
Into it.
I know.
So what is that? Mythbusters then? Is that more of a Mythbusters than conspiracy?
No, because it's not a myth. It's true. It's true.
I mean, it's not true until you prove it.
When we got time, we'll get into it.
Good.
I'll tell you how we proved it. We proved it.
Okay, good.
One more from Reddit that I want to bring up that was hot this week. Username's Sandwich Crust. Sandwich is a town in Massachusetts, by the way, for the Boston lovers. The Red Sox still haven't lost a spring training game. Boston has the most runs scored, fewest runs allowed in the Grapefruit League, and MLB leading plus 43 run differential. It's a tee up. It's a layup for so many to make fun of the fact that A, spring training doesn't mean shit. B, the Boston Red Sox are not on everyone's nice list, especially for fans in Boston right now. They're just not thrilled with their recent transactions and the way they've handled a lot of things, especially with the Bogarts loss and just how they're not really keeping up with some of the AL East clubs at the moment. Boston's also just such an up and down ball club. They don't stay consistently here. But anyway, spring training records mean nothing.
Who cares?
Yeah. No, it's more just from cracking a joke about the team.
What did Jeremy, our director, say? They have a better chance of
the number one pick
than winning the World Series. So I think Jeremy might be on to something with that one. That also isn't a conspiracy if it's the truth, right?
You're saying the number one pick thing?
Well, yeah, it's not a conspiracy that they're going to win the World Series. I mean, it's the truth. They're probably not going to win the World Series.
That's just a take. That's just a take.
I would call that a take. That's not a conspiracy. When I was telling the guys before the show that in spring training, talk about winning spring training. Like AJ said, it doesn't matter. The starters, AJ, how many ninth inning decisions have you ever seen? Yeah, none, right?
I mean, unless I was at the one game where you had to play 9 innings. Other than that, I had no idea. I had to ask every day if we won.
Right. And so, you get that mindset, but as a, young kid at camp and as a guy who's not a starter, I'm playing the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th inning. Maybe if I'm big time, I'm only playing 6th, 7th, 8th, and then they bring in somebody else for the 9th. But I remember my first big league camp, the guys in Toronto said, hey guys, if we win the Grapefruit League, it's like we all get Sanyo TVs. And this was kind of when like the flat screen TVs were coming out. So guys were doubling down on the story. They're like, oh, we're getting a Sanyo. Yeah. They're like, oh man, I'm getting one this year. We won it 2 years ago when I was with so-and-so. I'm hanging it in my locker. That's going to be so awesome. Oh man, that'll be great. So I'm sitting there like, yeah, let's go guys. Let's win this thing. Is this for everybody on the active roster? And I think we came to like the second to last day when nobody was playing. Like the big leaguers, I think probably had already flown up to Toronto. They were all gone. So it was just like, it was field 3, went over to the big league stadium to play. And we lost the game. And I just remember being dejected. Like, dang it, we could have won. Like I was looking at the standings to see what else people want, who else won. And somebody was like, dude, these games don't matter. There's no TV. Nobody's winning a TV. I was thoroughly distraught, completely relieved that I had only told one person. But yeah, that was because we had Sanyo TVs hanging in the clubhouse.
That's a conspiracy theory. So is that you win TVs?
Kratzy, are you the guy that also looks for like the keys to the batter's box and like the box of curveballs, stuff like that? You fall for that one too?
No, I never fell for that one. The Sanyo TV though, it was epic because when he was telling me the story, we had a Sanyo TV right in the corner, the aisles.
Have you seen The Usual Suspects?
I mean, I get what you're saying.
Kaiser Soze, and they're like, oh, there's a Sanyo. We'll get Kratz on this one.
They weren't talking to me. I was a rookie in camp. They weren't talking. No chance. They weren't even looking me in the eye. They wouldn't.
No, they knew though.
They knew it. They heard. They knew I had ears in the cornfield. My rabbit ears were out.
That's a conspiracy though. The flat screen TVs.
That's a joke, and Kratz fell for it.
Just saying. If Sanyo wants to send AJ a new.
Do they even make Sanyos anymore?
Yeah, I haven't heard that name in a minute. I'm gonna have to look it up for Slap Hands. Slap Hands time. So I want to do a few Q&As from fans in the Twitch page and on YouTube. So first off, a little shout out from Doug saying, "Will you guys have an online store?" Loving the logo. Merch soon. Okay. Also, we have a question from AJ Pierzynski in our Slack channel. He said,
from me?
Yeah, he said, "Is Kratz's hat too big?"
Oh, yeah.
And you had your hat sticker rant, so now's your time.
First of all, Kratz's hat is like 3 sizes too big. If you can take your hat and turn it all the way around and it doesn't touch any part of your head, your hat's too big. Yeah. There, see, look, doesn't even make a mark, right? Like I can't do that on my hat. Like it hurts. So your hat's too big because you could tuck your ears in your hat too. So your hat is too big. Right. Second of all, Kratz, you were talking about the hat sticker. Look, I also have a sticker on my hat. And so you thought that I was going to blow up Panama because they all had their stickers on their hat. But I like it. Whatever brings you guys together, whatever makes your team excited, you do it. Like right here, me and Kratz, we both have our stickers on our hat. So Panama, you do you. You have a good time. You keep going in the World Baseball Classic. But whatever brings you together, if it's hat stickers, blonde hair if you're Puerto Rico, go be you and have fun playing baseball.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, I didn't know where you were going to go there.
Yeah, you thought I was going to blow them up, didn't you?
Yeah,
I liked it.
No, I'm a fan too. Why not? Do you? All right, let me get some fan questions in here. D. Booker, is AJ a Spurs fan or part owner?
I wish I was part owner. And I do. My hat is a Tottenham Spurs hat.
It looks like a basketball.
It is a
on the bottom
chicken
there.
On a soccer ball.
A chicken on a soccer ball. What's with the stitching? Looks like a
it's an old soccer ball. It's from like when they originally Tottenham first was joined. I am not a part owner, but Joe Lewis, if you're watching, which I know you're not, but I'd love to be part owner. And
well, he'd say, "Yeah, pony up," and you can be.
That's fine. I'm in. And 2 Champions League game today. Tottenham plays Milan. They're down 1-0 aggregate. All you people out there watching are like, what the hell is he talking about?
Yeah, what? This is a baseball show.
Basically, Tottenham needs to win 2-0 today at home to advance to the next stage in the Champions League, which is like the largest soccer. It's like the WBC. They take the 4 best teams of every major soccer league, play a tournament every year. And if you win, it's like it's like winning the World Cup every year.
Right. Am I betting on it? Like what's your
I'd take Tottenham today at home.
Tottenham to win, money line?
Yeah.
Connor, you and me. Let's go later.
Yeah. Come on, you Spurs. Let's go.
I'm in. That'll get me to watch. And then one more, Pepper in Sports. What adjustments do y'all think can Team USA make pitching-wise without their big arms, as AJ put it? Quote, big arms.
Kratz, you take this one. I already kind of ranted on them.
I kind of said about what adjustments can they make without the big arms would have to be, I think it's going to come down to, what do the catchers, Will Smith and JT Realmuto, what kind of adjustments can they make for those guys? Because you can say, all right, as if Realmuto is out there, all right, I've seen Adam Wainwright 15 times as a hitter. This is what he has. He might not have that. He might not have that at this point in the season. And I think that communication over these next few days is going to be huge. So the adjustments they have to make are being okay with, you know what, we're not going to get as many strikeouts, or in certain situations, hey, how the heck are we going to figure out how to get a strikeout here, how to make Wainwright be able to get to his 50 pitches, or whoever's coming out of the bullpen, Ottavino, being able to go 2 innings, that kind of thing. And I think more of it's going to lean on Pettit, and it's going to lean on DeRosa to be able to navigate all the rules and regulations that they've probably been laid down from the MLB clubs themselves.
Doesn't hurt to rely on your defense a little more too.
But listen, they're going to have to play it like how quick can we get to the bullpen, and who do we have available in the bullpen?
And D-Row's going to be great with that. I mean, he's all in on that.
No, 100%. But it's different than the regular season, or even the postseason, where starters giving you length are a bigger deal. This is about how many relievers do I have available to give me multiple innings, because Wainwright will be probably 3 innings when they have their first game against Great Britain, hope maybe 4 if he has a low pitch count, and then who can cover the next 5 innings, and then
you're not getting a lot of multiple inning outings.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Regular relievers are going an inning. I doubt. I mean, if I'm a GM, I'm like, cool, you can go, but Devin Williams, David Bednar, etc. It's 3 outs max, or you're coming back home.
And a lot of them can't go back-to-back days either.
Yeah. So, you heard Edwin Diaz for Puerto Rico. I mean, he's not going back-to-back. I'm assuming most aren't doing that.
That's
and there's rules with that too.
Nick will go multiple, and I'm assuming this point in the spring training though, he's maybe not gone more than 2. So if he's your multiple guy, like, I don't know. I think every team's going to run into it. It's not just U.S.
Here's what U.S. is going to want to do. They're going to want to run rule teams if they can. Like they want to. Like they play Great Britain, they're going to want to run rule them. I mean, I don't know who's on Great Britain, but I'm assuming.
But you're not against Great Britain, but like you're not doing that later on against like Sandy Alcantara. Like
no, the DR and some of these. Yeah,
good luck.
I agree. Good luck. Good luck, DR. I can't wait to watch you and Andy Pettit figure this out.
Yeah, it's going to be good, especially as the tournament gets a little deeper.
Right here, he's the hitting coach.
Wow,
your boy.
What a hitting.
Your neighbor.
Your neighbor. So Griffey, I played with Griffey. I said, Griff, what do you do to hit? He goes, you see the little guy on his bat? And he had his swingman logo on his bat. He goes, I just tell that little guy to hit the ball. And I'm like, that's your swing thought? He's like, yeah, take the little guy and have him hit the ball.
That's called you're born with a gift.
You're just good.
You're born with a gift, and some get to just smile and go out to the field and have fun because they're just that naturally talented.
Yes.
I want to get to Travis d'Arnaud, first ever hole-in-one in his life. Kratzy, did he break the news publicly, or are we breaking it right now? Did he text you? How'd you find out?
KP, Kevin Pillar, had told me, and he also tweeted. Well, he tweeted it, and then I texted him, and he was like, yeah, first one ever. And I think a hole-in-one is like, I'm going to say top 3 most awesome sports accomplishments that you can have in your lifetime. And I'm having a tough time thinking of the third one. I think, winning a world championship is really cool, but very few people get to do that. But going to see your team win a world championship, whatever the sport is, I think is really cool. A hole-in-one, that's so awesome. Like, I think if I ever get a hole-in-one, it would be luck. But he said I asked him, I said, how much video did you have? He's like, no video. I said, maybe it didn't
video
happen.
or it
Then
didn't
he
happen.
said 9 people witnessed it.
9 people are enough.
So
that's the line.
Well, I mean, there's one other person. So
is that
no?
all it is?
One's
You
not
just need
enough.
one?
One's
yeah,
not
because
enough.
if you make a
No.
hole-in-one and no one sees it, does it count? That's always like the golf question, right?
No,
because who can prove it?
Yeah, you can't say.
So you need at least one person to see you hit the ball and it go in the hole. If there's no one there, I mean, heck, you can make a hole-in-one every time out. No one knows.
If you play by yourself, though, are you not keeping like this is part of golf? Like, you're keeping honest strokes. Are you giving yourself strokes when you're
No.
playing golf?
No, not when you're playing with yourself.
Well, I don't
By
know.
yourself,
Want to talk
sorry.
about playing with yourself. but-
Sorry, by yourself.
By yourself.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of playing, the Philly Fanatic had some issues, some misfires with his hot dog. Just didn't have a lot of velocity on it. So I just felt like this was the time to bring it up. Not much exit view on the hot dog cannon. So somebody did not eat well.
In the immortal words of Vince Fresso, our old clubhouse guy in Chicago, what happened? The Philly Fanatic is the best, but
Not much there.
The greatest mascot in baseball.
Swing and a
by far.
miss.
But yeah, you got to get that. You got to get your hot dog fixed.
Mm-hmm.
Those hot dogs, though, a little shout out, Hatfield hot dogs. They are Hatfield meat products, pork products. They are right down the street from my house.
Mm. Did you do a commercial for them?
No, that was turkey bacon.
Oh, that's for another day
sounds
as
terrible,
well.
by the way. Turkey
That was
bacon.
Gotchall's quality meats. That is actually the best turkey bacon. Believe me, I said it in the commercial. I'm not lying.
It's the best. It's the best commercial of all time. Again, for another show. Lastly, Draymond asked, "Where's the Todd Father at?" Well, the Todd Father works like 2-3 days a week. So right now, this is where he is.
Look at that drink, AJ.
Still got those tired. Look at the suntan, the sunburn, I should say, and the tired Under Armour glasses.
The perfect highway for the chest hair.
He's rocking that. He's drinking a Miami Vice, by the way. I mean, Todd Father, is there? Hopefully, there's a floater in that thing because those Miami Vices.
Oh, there's definitely
just
a
pure
floater.
Sugar.
I know. There's definitely a few
talk about
floaters in there.
Hangover and a belly.
I'm not even jealous though, because like right after this show, I mean, I go and work from the balcony outside. It's 85 degrees out today for the rest of the show, and AJ's probably going to coach, right? You got practice.
My daughter has a beach volleyball. Match
Exactly.
today,
so life's not bad here. Again, happy International Women's Day to everyone. We appreciate all of the amazing women in our lives, and this is a good one. Corbin Burnes was fire. We're back on Thursday for more foul territory. Wait, I'm used to getting played off. Play me off.
Don't forget, subscribe. It's free. Subscribe. Yeah. YouTube, free. Twitch, whatever you watch, subscribe. Apple Podcasts, Spotify.
It's a gift from us. We'll pay for your subscription. Subscribe.
Yeah, where AJ and Kratzy are paying for all of the YouTube subscriptions, all 1,000 so far. The show's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the whole deal. We appreciate the love, especially for the OG fans. Thursday's big. Stay tuned to the social accounts for who's coming on. See you then.